Alvaro was hanging by his fingertips from the edge of a sand cliff, the world beneath him a dangerous mix of jagged rocks and shallow water. Each tiny shift in the sand sent tremors of fear up his arms, threatening to plunge him into a fall of nearly 100 meters. The wind whipped around him, the roar of distant waves in his ears, and every second felt like an eternity. In that instant, life became brutally simple. Survive. This wasn't about plans, friends, or regrets. It was about holding on long enough to find a way out. Earlier that week, Alvaro had been enjoying the carefree life of a surfer with his friends on a deserted island. They laughed, rode towering waves, and gathered around a glowing campfire as the sun dipped below the horizon. Among the group was Nilo, the oldest and wisest, who shared news of his new relationship and upcoming move to Canada. While everyone celebrated Nilo's happiness, Alvaro's heart twisted with envy and regret. His recent breakup with Ona gnawed at him, magnifying every mistake he had made in their relationship. What should have been a joyful evening for friends was slowly becoming a mirror reflecting Alvaro's inner turmoil. As the night deepened, Alvaro drowned his feelings in alcohol, nursing a bitter cocktail of jealousy and longing. From a distance, he watched Ona dance with another guy, each laugh and spin, twisting the knife of his own regrets. Frustration boiled over, and he got into a drunken fight with her dance partner, letting anger replace reason. Nelo intervened, guiding Alvaro away from the chaos, and sat him down to talk. For the first time, Alvaro had to confront the storm inside him. He admitted that Nilo's plans and new priorities had shattered their old dreams of traveling, surfing, and chasing adventures together. It was a raw moment of honesty, painful yet necessary, and it set the stage for the emotional and physical trials that would soon test him to his limits. The next morning, Alvaro woke up in his car with a pounding hangover, disoriented and alone. His phone buzzed with notifications he had ignored. His sister reminded him it was her birthday, which he had forgotten, and his father's health had worsened. Despite the distance and his past mistakes, his family showed patience and love, waiting for him to return to himself. Shaken by these reminders, Alvaro grabbed his backpack and surfboard, determined to find a new spot to ride the waves. As he trekked along the steep, sandy cliffs of the island, loose sand gave way beneath him, sending him sliding toward a jagged, rocky edge. His heart raced as he clutched the sand, realizing how quickly fun and freedom could turn into a fight for survival. Alvaro dangled precariously over the cliff, his fingers clawing at the shifting sand. Below him, sharp rocks jutted out, ready to turn a single misstep into disaster. His backpack and phone slid with him, and when the phone rang, he could barely reach it. Panic surged, but he forced himself to stay calm, calculating the timing of the waves below. Summoning every ounce of courage, he waited for the right moment and leapt, hitting the water hard. Pain shot through his hip as he struck a submerged rock, but he surfaced, gasping for air. The second fall left him dazed, cutting his palm and head on jagged edges. Blood poured, and his body ached, yet he refused to give up. Even in despair, the fight to survive had just begun. Alvaro's phone was useless, broken from the fall, and there was no one around for kilometers. He wrapped a t-shirt around his bleeding hand and assessed his options. Swimming to shore seemed almost impossible with his injuries, but staying put wasn't an option either. Each movement sent waves of pain through his body, but he forced himself into the water, struggling to paddle with one arm and a wounded leg. His stomach cramped from internal bleeding, and for a moment he felt the crushing weight of hopelessness. He sank beneath the waves, imagining saying goodbye to everyone he loved. Yet, even in the depths, a spark of determination lingered. He couldn't let his story end here. Somehow, Alvaro's foot touched a sandbar beneath the water, a small rise in the seabed that saved him from going under. Using the last of his strength, he dragged himself forward until the waves were only waist-deep. Crawling like a soldier under fire, he reached the edge of a rocky shore and collapsed, coughing up seawater. For a while he just lay there, staring at the gray sky, his body trembling from exhaustion and shock. He knew he wasn't safe yet. The shore was remote, with no roads or people in sight, but he had survived the crash in the ocean. That realization fueled him with a flicker of hope. As night fell, Alvaro faced a new challenge: the cold and the darkness. He wrapped himself in tinfoil from his backpack and a fishing net he found on the shore, trying to trap what little warmth he could. His fever made every shiver unbearable, and the sound of the distant surf reminded him how isolated he truly was. Rain briefly offered hope, dripping into a makeshift cup, but it quickly stopped, leaving only a few drops to quench his thirst. Alone, injured and exhausted, Alvaro whispered to himself, "I don't want to die," over and over, clinging to that tiny spark of willpower that kept him alive through the night. At first light, Alvaro's ordeal continued. A seagull swooped down, pecking at his bleeding hand, forcing him to fight even the smallest creatures for survival. Desperation pushed him to dig through the sand and find a working phone buried beneath debris. He tried calling his parents, but their voices seemed distant and oblivious to his peril, reminding him that he couldn't rely on anyone but himself. Using the wreckage of a surfboard washed ashore, he slowly began to crawl toward the cliffs, each movement agonizing, each step a battle against pain, fear, and exhaustion. Every wave threatened to drag him back, but he kept moving, driven by a flicker of hope and sheer survival instinct. Alvaro's body screamed in protest, every movement sending waves of pain through his broken hip and sliced palm. Yet he forced himself into the water, clutching the piece of surfboard like a lifeline. Each stroke was a fight against the ocean's relentless pull, his vision blurring from salt, blood, and fatigue. In his mind, he replayed memories of friends' laughter around the bonfire, and even the fights he'd had with Ona. Those memories became fuel, reminding him why he had to survive, not just for himself, but for everyone he loved. The waves were merciless, but with each painful push, he edged closer to hope, clinging to the fragile idea that rescue might be just ahead. Exhausted, battered, and barely conscious, Alvaro spotted what seemed like a boat on the horizon. His arms screamed with each stroke, his lungs burned, and his vision tunneled. But he focused on that distant speck of salvation. Every wave felt like a mountain, every pull of the current a test of his will. Memories of Ona flashed vividly, her voice, her laughter, her patience, and he whispered to himself that he couldn't give up. With sheer determination, he kicked, paddled, and clawed forward, letting the image of the boat and the thought of seeing loved ones again drive him past his pain. For Alvaro, survival was no longer optional. It had become a battle of mind over matter, instinct over injury, and hope over despair. Just as his strength threatened to abandon him, a scuba diver plunged from the boat into the churning water, cutting through the waves like a lifeline. Alvaro felt a powerful hand grip him, lifting him toward the surface. Salt water burned his eyes, blood mixed with seawater, and the world spun wildly, but for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he felt the solid pull of rescue. A medallion slipped from his neck, sinking slowly into the depths, a piece of him left behind forever on that merciless shore. The helicopter hovered above, the sun glinting off its blades, and medics prepared on deck, ready to take him from death's edge to safety. In that moment, Alvaro realized that survival was possible, even when every instinct screamed surrender. Back on solid ground, Alvaro was rushed to the hospital, battered and bleeding, yet alive. Nalo, his oldest friend, was there, a mix of relief and concern on his face. As Alvaro lay in the hospital bed, he began to recount every harrowing detail, how fear, guilt, and exhaustion nearly stole his life, and how visions of Ona, memories of mistakes, and flashes of hope kept him fighting. He admitted he had been blinded by jealousy and selfishness, unable to truly celebrate his friend's happiness. But facing death had reshaped him. He no longer wanted to be defined by envy or regrets. In that stark, sterile hospital room, Alvaro realized the true value of life, friendship, and the people who loved him, even if he had failed them before. Alvaro's recovery became more than just physical. It was honestly a journey of the heart and mind. Each day he found himself reflecting on the moments he had taken for granted: his father's quiet support, his sister's patience, and Nilo's unwavering friendship. He realized, that letting go of Ona wasn't really a loss, but a step toward maturity and self-respect. His near-death experience had stripped away illusions and forced him to confront the man he truly wanted to be. For the first time, Alvaro understood that survival wasn't just about holding on to life. It was about embracing responsibility, empathy, and the chance to rebuild broken connections. Slowly, he began planning how to live with purpose, appreciating each moment as a gift and making amends where he could. Eventually, Ona visited Alvaro in the hospital. Their meeting was quiet but filled with unspoken understanding. She didn't return to their past romance, but her presence brought closure and a sense of peace. Alvaro realized that love isn't always about possession. It's about respect, gratitude, and letting people grow in their own direction. This encounter strengthened his resolve to start anew, not tied to guilt or longing, but to live fully and intentionally. The brush with death had given him clarity. Life was fragile, fleeting, and meant to be lived with courage, honesty, and heart. It was time to turn the page and embrace a future shaped by choice, not by mistakes or regret. With a new perspective, Alvaro began his journey of recovery and self-discovery. Physical therapy and rest became his daily routine, but more importantly, he worked on his emotional wounds. He started reconnecting with his family, expressing love and gratitude he had long withheld. Small gestures, phone calls, shared meals, honest conversations, repaired bonds that years of neglect had strained. Alvaro also reflected on his friendships, realizing that envy and selfishness had clouded his judgment. By acknowledging his flaws and taking responsibility, he began to rebuild trust with Nilo and the others. Slowly, he transformed fear and guilt into determination and hope, proving that survival is not just about staying alive, but about learning to live better. Eventually, Alvaro's journey came full circle when Ona visited him in the hospital. The meeting was quiet, filled with unspoken understanding. There was no rekindling of romance, only closure and mutual respect. Ona represented a part of his past that he had to accept and release. Through this encounter, Alvaro realized that love isn't about possession or control. It's about appreciation and letting go when necessary. This moment reinforced his newfound resilience. He could face life's storms, endure pain, and emerge stronger. Alvaro's story became a testament to human endurance, showing that even after the brink of death, it's possible to reclaim purpose, mend relationships, and embrace life with clarity and courage. And with that realization, Alvaro made a conscious decision to start fresh. He committed to living deliberately, appreciating the small moments, and valuing the people who truly mattered. His time stranded on the island had stripped life down to its bare essentials: survival, self-reflection, and the urgent need to prioritize what truly counts. Every wound, every hallucination, every moment of despair became a lesson etched into his memory. As he began his new life, Alvaro carried not just the scars of his body, but the wisdom of his ordeal. A reminder that even when everything seems lost, determination, clarity, and courage can guide you back to safety and meaning. The final scene brings closure, showing Alvaro reunited with Ona, not as lovers, but as two people who have grown and learned. Their meeting is quiet, filled with unspoken understanding and respect. Alvaro, once consumed by jealousy and selfishness, now recognizes the value of love, friendship, and family. He thanks his friends, especially Nilo, for their patience and support. understanding that true connections endure even when tested by time and adversity. The story closes with a powerful message. Life can change in an instant, and survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about learning, growing, and choosing to live fully, with awareness and gratitude for every breath.